Rational exponents.
What's an exponent again?
This is the exponent. A rational means your exponent is a fraction. A to the m over n. Everybody hear that? A raised to the m over n. So your exponent is a fraction. All right, this here is called exponential form. Now you have to know that because they're going to ask you on homework, write it in exponential form, write it in radical form. So let me show you what radical form looks like. Same letters, a radical. Now the denominator, this little guy right here, the n, goes there as the index, and the exponent goes as your exponent, raised to the m. This is called radical form. All right. Now, what you need to know when you're going back and forth today is what goes where. The denominator goes there as your radical. Your numerator, the top number, goes as your power. Now, I'm going to put a little or here. Nth root of a to the m power. It does not matter if you put your m power exponent on your number or letter on the inside or on the outside. Got it? Does that make sense? All right. We are going to write in radical form. What's going on, gentlemen? Yeah, what is it? What does she do? Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Erin.
What's that vinaigrette?
Except there's a certain extent.
Was it you that? Who was it that she spilled it on last night?
Oh.
What is she?
She spilled that vinaigrette all over him, and it was.
No, that was my lunch pail.
Oh.
And then Brandon likes to throw at hissing it. Oh, yeah.
All right, write in radical form. Number 1. X raised to the 2/3. All right, all we're doing is going from this form to this form. That's it. We just need to get the practice. Put your phones away, please. All right, so it looks like this. Radical form, of course, you write your radical. Your base will still be your base. You just need to figure out where the 2 and the 3 go. What goes here?
2, 3.
The 3. The denominator goes there. What goes here as the power?
2.
2. Now, does it matter if you put 2 on the inside or the outside?
Nope.
No. This is your answer. Okay. Number 2. K to the 1/3.
Will always be a variable?
No. No, we're going to see one with the number in just a little bit. K to the 1/3. Okay, so radical, K goes on the inside. What goes here? 3. And the power? 1. All right. Now, do you have to write a power of 1? No. You can write it on the outside, not write it all, write it on the inside. Is it necessary to write an exponent of 1? No. All right, but I'm going to put it there. Number 3, m raised to the 1/2. I'm going to read this one really quick. We'd say this: the cube root of x squared, or the third root of x squared. The cube root of k, or the third root of k. This one, when I change it, what goes on the inside? M, what goes out here? 2, and the power? 1. How would I read this one? If this one is the cube root, how would I read this one? Square root. The second root or the square root, which means I can rewrite it like this, and it means the exact same thing. The reason I'm writing it this way is because this is how it's always going to be written. You'll never see it like this. Now, Do you guys agree if I gave you that right there, you would know to read that as the square root of m? No?
Uh-huh.
Square root of m? Even though there's no 2 right there, should you know that means square root? Yes. So I will tell you this. If there is a 3, you have to write the 3. Or a 4, or a 5. If there is a 2, do you have to write it? You do not have to write the 2 because it's implied. So when you see this, write it like this, and vice versa. When you see this, should you know there's a 2 and a 1 there? All right. Number,
Show it like that on the test.
it'll show up like this. Number 4, 5 raised to the 3/8. Go ahead and do that now. 5 raised to the 3/8. Gentlemen.
Sorry.
All right. Let's focus. Okay, so did I do this properly?
No.
No. Switched around. Okay, so
Wait, I thought
B.
you said it didn't know. Wait.
I wrote it like this. I put the 3 here and the 8 there. What doesn't matter is the 2 here or the 2 there. The 3, yeah. Do you see what I messed up on purposely? All right. So what goes? Let's rewrite it. Radical 5. What goes here? 8 and power 3. Does it matter where I write it? No. Inside or outside? Okay. Questions on writing in radical form? Yes.
How do we pronounce it as the answer? How do we?
This would be the 8th root of 5 to the 3rd, or the 8th root of 5 cubed. All right? The 8th root, the cubed root, and this one automatically is square root, meaning there's a 2 there even though we do not see it. Do you see that? So when I give you this, should you know it has a power of 1 and a root of 2? All right. Okay. Next piece we're going to write in exponential form. Write in exponential form. All right, number 1. 3, or the cube root of g squared. Bless you. The cube root of g squared would become g to what power? 3/2 or 2/3? 2/3, that's it, you're done. We will have some where we evaluate or simplify. We will have some of those.
Okay.
Okay.
So like, wait, you're recording.
Yep. 7th root of 8 to the 3rd. 7th root of 8 to the 3rd. Rewrite it. I'll let you guys do that now.
Where you're
8 raised to the 3/7?
Yeah.
Good job. Do you guys agree? All right, number 3. This is one kids struggle with. And there's no numbers anywhere. Gentlemen. Gentlemen. What was that? Good. Okay. She said, should we know that there's a 1 in the exponent? Yes, we should.
Yes.
And what else should we know? Is there a 1 right here as well?
It's 2.
This one is a 2. The power is 1 when it's not there, but the number, the root, the index is a 2. Should you know that? Yes. So this is x to what power? So any number that is square rooted can be rewritten with the power of 1/2. Yes.
What, like when you do the same thing, like not writing, if there's a 1, like when you put 1, 2, or 2, 1. If there's a 1 outside the bar.
Over here?
Yeah.
That would never be a 1. It would never. It's going to be 2 or higher. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Are we good? Now, does this make sense? Let me give you number 4. The cube root of x. How would I write that one? What's the power that I don't see? 1. So it's x to the... Now, do you guys remember when we did the cube root lesson last unit? Where I said we didn't know how to do cube roots, but I showed you how to plug it in your calculator? And what power did I tell you guys to raise it to?
Third.
1/3. And that's why, because cube root is equivalent to a power of 1/3. Square root's equivalent to a power of 1/2. All right, number 5. 4th root of 2x. 4th root of 2x. Okay, I heard 2x to the 1/4. Now I would get that wrong. I need you guys listening in the back. Anybody tell me why I would get this wrong if I wrote it like this? Okay, I'm going to show you the one that does come out to be like this. If it was written like this, 2 times the 4th root of x, that would be 2x to the 1/4 because the 4th root is on the x. So the x has to be alone for the 1/4 to only be on the x. So what should I have around these two guys?
Square.
Parentheses. Why is that? Because the 1/4 is being applied to both. Okay, the power of 1's on both and the 4th root is on both. Do you see that? Yes? All right, so know that you need parentheses. If there's multiple pieces in here, you need parentheses. Parentheses 2x raised to the 1/4. Do you see that? Make sense? Now, if it's the 2's on the outside and the radical only has the x, then it's 2x to the 1/4, no parentheses. Any questions? All right, we're going to now try some actual examples. Evaluate. Number 1, 9 raised to the 1/2, the easiest one you're ever going to see. What is 9 raised to the 1/2 equivalent to? The what root of 9? What goes here?
2.
2. Do I have to write the 2? No. Should we know that square root doesn't, I could rewrite it like this. Yes, it's okay if you write it there, but you do not have to. There's a 1 there as well. What's the square root of 9?
3.
3? Does that make sense? What if I gave you one like this? I'll call this A and this B. What if I gave you 25 to the 1/2? Can anybody do that without rewriting it?
It's 5.
Why is it 5?
Square root.
Because 1/2 means the square root and the square root of 25 is 5. Does that make sense?
What number is that?
That's B.
Would that be the same thing
I know.
if it was to be 1/3, we would cube it?
Yes. Okay, we're going to do that next. She said, what if it was to the 1/3? So what about this? 27 to the 1/3. I am going to rewrite it, but can anybody do it in their head without rewriting? This is saying the square root of 27 or the cube root of 27? Cube root of 27. Break it down. What is it? 9 times 3, and 9 is... And when we're doing cube root, we take out in pairs or in chunks of 3.
In chunks of 3.
So what's the answer here?
3.
3. The cube root of 27 is 3. Why? Because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Make sense? All right. Number 3. 8 raised to the 2/3. There's going to be some cube roots that you eventually should have memorized. Ahmad? All right, rewrite it. Radical 8, what goes here, the 2 or the 3? And power? 2. Now, what did I say about the power earlier? It could go inside or outside. Do you remember that?
Yes.
But I will tell you this. When you have one like this, it's easier if you do the radical piece first and then your exponent. You can do it the other way. It's going to work out the same. For example, if I did it like this, the cube root of 8 squared, I would still get the same answer. But which one's easier?
The first one.
The first one. I'm going to cover the 2. Cube root of 8. What times what times what is 8? You should have that one memorized eventually. I'm going to show you. 4 times 2. 2 times 2. Is it 2? So my answer's not 2, but 2 to what power? 2 to the second is 4. Do you guys see that? Now what if I did it this way? Cube root of, what's 8 squared?
64.
And then you have to break up the 64. Do you agree this way's easier?
Yeah.
All right. And if you did this one, you would get what? 8 and 8, 4 and 2, 4 and 2. And do you see how much longer this one takes? You'd get the same answer, but it would take a lot longer. This here is a 2, this here is a 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. All right, number 4.
What about the other cubes?
What about the other what? 81 to the 3/4. Write it as a radical. 81. What's the power?
4.
What's the index, the root?
3.
Is that correct?
Switch it up.
Switch it up. The power is 3 and the root is 4. All right. What should I do first? Raise 81 to the 3rd or take the 4th root of 81? 4th root of 81. So let's break it down. 81 is what?
9 and 9.
9 and 9, and each 9 has a...
3.
Now 4th root means what? We're taking out in groups of what? 4. Does everything come out? So my base is what? This all comes out as 3. 3 is not my final answer, but do you see that the 4th root of 81 is 3? What am I left with? Raised to the 3rd power. And 3 to the 3rd is 3 times 3, which is 9.
27.
And 9 times 3 is 27. Number 5. Did I go too fast on that one?
Nope, you're good.
We're good? Negative 32 raised to the 3/5. Now, we're going to be breaking these up, but eventually you'll hopefully have a lot of these memorized. Radical, negative 32, what goes here? 5. And the power? What should I do first, the radical or the power? Okay, 5th root of negative 32. Can you take the 5th root of a negative number? Can you take the square root of a negative number? No. So can anybody tell me about this number here, when it works and when it doesn't work? If this number is... Okay, I'm going to repeat the question. Can I take the 5th root of a negative number? Can I take the cube root of a negative number? Yes. Can I take the square root of a negative? 4th root of a negative. So who can tell me about this number right here, what it has to be? If it's odd, 3, 5, 7, will it work with the negative? Yes. If it's even, 2, 4, 6, will it work with the negative? No. Do you guys see that? Because it's odd, it works, because I can take the odd root of a negative number. All right, let's break it down. 32 is what? 8 and 4? 4 is 2 and 2. And 8 is what? 2 and 4. And 4 is 2 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes or no? The 5th root of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2's, do I have enough to come out? This means I'm circling how many at a time? Right here it tells me I'm circling how many at a time? 5 at a time. Do you see that? Because it's 5th root. That root tells me how many I'm circling at a time. So I'm going to repeat the question. How many do I circle at a time? 5. Do I have just enough to come out? The only thing you have to keep in mind that it's not just 2, it is what? Negative 2. Why negative 2? Do you guys agree if I multiply negative 2 together 5 times, it would still come out to be a negative? If I have an odd amount of negatives, it would be negative. Yes or no? Yes.
What were you saying about the root thingy and the negative number? What were you
If
saying?
this is even, like say it was the 4th root or the square root, you couldn't take that of a negative number. But if that's odd, like 3 or 5 or 7, yes, you can take the radical of a negative.
Okay.
All right?
Is there going to be a question where it is an even
No. The reason I'm saying this is because I'll have kids say, oh, I can't do that because I can't take the square root of a negative. True, but this is not a square root, it's a 5th root. Okay? All right, and it's just because we've been taught that for so long. You can't take the square root of a negative, which is true, but this is not a square root. All right, so negative 2 to the third is where I'm left. And what's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2? Positive or negative 8? Do you have to be careful with that negative and pay attention?
Yes.
All right, number 6, 64 raised to the negative 2/3. All right, we're going to do this one quickly. Radical 64, what goes here? And what goes up here? Negative 2. Cube root of 64 first. Cube root of 64 first. Because of time, I'm going to give it to you, or does anybody know what the cube root of 64 is? Square root of 64 is 8. Cube root is 4. Good, I heard a few of you know it. But I'm not left with 4, I'm left with 4 to what power? And is 4 to the negative 2 16? Negative 16 or 1 over 16?
Negative 16.
Do you guys remember that from last year? A negative exponent does what to your base?
Makes it.
A negative exponent does what to your base? Makes it go to the bottom of the fraction.